From September of 2013 to May of 2014, I lived in a small town in southern France, and I worked as a language assistant as well as living with a family and serving as an au pair for their 3- and 5-year-old. So, very important in my life. This was the first year after graduating from Whitman, so it was the first year without that close group of friends, without the extracurriculars that kept me so busy, without a lot of the very important activities and people in my life. And suddenly I had so much free time and didn't always know what to do with it at first. I had spent so much of my college time devoted to theater, both the theater department, serving as the president of the drama club and really helping to build up a community in the department overall, as well as my involvement in plays. I was hugely committed and I loved it, but I had started to feel like maybe this wasn't the thing for me, and it was a really interesting experiment my year after graduating from Whitman to just be in a totally different place and not do any theater for a year and see how I felt. At that time I was really unsure of where I was going and where I wanted to be, and this year was kind of serving as a test to whether it needed to be theater, to whether it needed to be living in France or teaching, or what exactly it was that I needed to be a part of my life and my future. And for a long time I felt very unhappy, and I wasn't able to exactly pinpoint why that was. Was it friends and community? Was it not knowing what I wanted to be doing? Was it not having theater? I was really struggling to figure out what that was. So I spent a lot of time that year thinking and journaling in French this time. I kept a notebook in French and just, writing about my experiences, my travels, and what I was going through emotionally and the different thoughts that I had for the future. It was a pretty long time period to be separate from family and college friends and just not really have people who understood my past and my present. And so I really felt like I needed to figure out what was going to happen next and do it by myself, rely on myself in that situation. So over the course of the year I probably considered 10 different avenues for next steps after my year in France, and those included, applying for a Fulbright or other grants and going and trying to live in Francophone countries. That included going and trying to find an innovative education kind of situation school to work in, trying to work in community building, grant writing, support of basically programs that benefit a community. Lots of different things, and I wasn't completely sure what was right for me. So when I had the opportunity to go and work in innovative education, arts-based education in Beijing, China, despite the fact that China was not ever in my plan, it felt like the most right step. And at that time I really felt like I needed to still be abroad, and if I could be in an abroad situation that was even more challenging. For me, one of the frustrating things about my year in France was that I'd actually become too much at ease. I had a lot of English around me, and my French was good enough that I didn't feel like I needed to push or challenge myself more in that area. And so I really felt that, just being 23 at the time, I still needed to have very challenging experiences that would push me to better define myself and my character and my goals in life, and my experiences up to that point had shown me that the best kind of situation for that was abroad. So I was pretty dedicated to spending at least one more year in a foreign country. I of course also got to have many fantastic travels while I was in Europe. Both during the year. I went to Granada and Barcelona in Spain. I went along Cinque Terre and to Florence, Siena, and Rome in Italy. I chaperoned a student field trip to London and I went to Malta with the family I was an au pair for. I went to Morocco and got the opportunity to stay with a friend's family, her in-laws, in Morocco, which was a really phenomenal experience. And I spent the summer traveling in Ireland, Germany, Prague, the Netherlands, and Belgium, and back to France. And just overall, it was phenomenal to experience so many different cultures in such a short amount of time, and typically stay with couchsurfing hosts or Airbnb people who were very open to talking about cultural differences and opening up their stories to me. And it was a phenomenal time to really get a good look at many different types of people and places. So I definitely think that it was a strong year for me to grow culturally and understanding people of other cultures. I had lots of great and different situations in which I just got to know people and their stories and come to appreciate a lot of different types of people and cultures.